So Section 8 is just a whole host of the powers of Congress. They can tax, they can pay debts, they can borrow money, they can regulate commerce with foreign nations, among the states, the Indian tribes. I'm not going to read all this to you. Look at Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution, please, because on the test, you will certainly be asked to name at least some of the powers of Congress. Establish a uniform rule of naturalization, provide the punishment of counterfeiting, establish post office and post roads, promote the progress of science, constitute tribunals inferior to the Supreme Court, declare war. Congress can declare war, not the president. Congress declares war. Raise and support armies, provide and maintain a navy, make rules for the government and regulation of the land and naval forces, organize, arm, and discipline a militia, which is now the National Guard, exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over what is now Washington, D.C., etc., etc., etc. Make all laws which shall be necessary and proper. This is how a lot of stuff is justified as being made into laws. Congress says, well, this is necessary and proper. This is the necessary and proper clause for carrying into execution the foregoing powers and all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the United States or in any department or officer thereof. So, for example, Congress has the power to collect taxes. Okay, it is necessary and proper for Congress to collect taxes. It needs an Internal Revenue Service. Because the Internal Revenue Service is too small, it needs to hire more agents. You see what it's a slippery slope. So, migration, or the migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit. I need a new glasses prescription, I think. Shall not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808. So people who came to the United States before then are good. But a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation not exceeding $10 for each person. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended. I'd look up what this means if I were you. Unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it. Lincoln, for example, suspended it during the Civil War. No bill of attainder or ex post facto law shall be passed, so ex post facto, that one I will explain, means after the fact. So say it's not against the law to rob convenience stores. So I go and rob a convenience store. The owner doesn't take particularly kindly to that, and petitions his congressman, and a law is passed that you can't rob convenience stores. Okay. But I robbed his store a month prior. I can't be charged for that because it wasn't illegal at the time I did it. That would probably be on the test too, ex post facto, but I'll give you that one for free. No capitation or other direct tax shall be laid unless in proportion to the census or enumeration herein before directed to be taken. Don't worry about that. All right. No tax or duty shall be laid on articles exported from any state. No preference shall be given by any regulation of commerce or revenue to the ports of one state over those of another. So the federal government can't send its trade from other nations to the port of Seattle all the time, and opposed to the port of Portland. I have no idea if there are ports in those two cities, just an example. Nor shall vessels bound to or from one state be obliged to enter, clear, or pay duties in another. All right, no money shall be drawn from the Treasury but in consequence of appropriations made by law. So Joe Biden just can't walk into the Treasury and take $20 out. Can't do it. And a regular statement and an account of receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. Pretty self-explanatory, I think. Now this, we can't have this in America. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of the Congress, accept of any present emolument, office, or title of any kind whatever from any king, prince, or foreign state. So we can't accept it either. Accept titles of nobility. We can't accept emoluments, which is money, little bit of money. We can't accept office, title, whatever, from anybody. We don't do that in America. Now, honorary stuff is a little bit different. So you see on the right-hand side of the screen, former New York mayor, former presidential candidate, Michael Bloomberg. He's the gentleman on the left, accepting a Knight of the British Empire Award from the British, I believe it was the British ambassador at the time, for his prodigious entrepreneurial and philanthropic endeavors. So if he lived, well, in Britain or anywhere, probably Canada too, he could be called Sir Michael. But since he's a United States citizen, he can write KBE after his name to denote that he received this award, but no Sir Michael, nothing like that. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, etc., etc. Now this is an interesting part to me. Make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts. So, what are these Federal Reserve notes in all our wallets? If states cannot make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payments of debts, a tender in payment of debts. I'm sorry. Interesting thought. Pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. So some states do like fun little stuff, like Nebraska. You can become a Nebraska admiral. Not a title of nobility, you're not even called admiral, but if you do something nice or give money to some charity in Nebraska or something, you might be given this award. You're in charge of all the tadpoles and frogs and whatever else is on that letter in Nebraska. You're in charge of the Great Navy. So no state shall, without the consent of the Congress, lay any imposts or duties on imports or exports except what may be absolutely necessary for executing its inspection laws, and the net produce of all duties and imposts laid by any state on imports or exports shall be for the use of the Treasury of the United States, and all such laws shall be subject to the revision and control of the Congress. Another one is a Kentucky colonel. If you do something great in Kentucky, you can be made a colonel in the Kentucky militia. It doesn't do anything or mean anything, but I just thought I'd throw that one in there. So states can't do this stuff, getting back to the important thing, because Congress does this. They're in charge of laying imposts and such on imports and exports. No state, without the consent of Congress, shall lay any duty of tonnage, keep troops or ships of war in time of peace, enter into any agreement or compact with any other state, etc., etc., unless, of course, there's imminent danger and you can't wait for the federal government to act. And that is why states can't do this, because Congress does it. There's a clear separation of power between the state and the federal government. This is why federalism is such an important concept, and why federalism will certainly be on the next test. There you go. So that is Congress in a nutshell. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please email me.